Hello, I'm your host, Mary Applegate, Director of Content and Instruction at BrainAcademy.com, Teach to the Brain's membership site for all of you who are seeking brain responsive strategies and tactics. Teach to the Brain's theme for 2025 is Transform Together, Your Story, Our Purpose. First, why this theme? It's because of the power of shared transformation. First, in 2025, we're witnessing a fundamental shift in how people approach personal and professional growth. The word transform acknowledges that change is constant, but by adding together, we recognize that sustainable transformation happens through connection and community. This theme speaks to the growing understanding that while each journey is unique, we achieve more when we support each other's growth. The second reason, individual stories have a collective impact. Your story places each person's unique journey at the center of the transformation process. This is crucial in 2025 as people increasingly seek personalized paths to growth while wanting to remain connected to a larger purpose. By emphasizing individual stories, we validate each person's experiences while creating space for authentic growth and development. The third reason is purpose-driven progress. Our purpose speaks to the deeper meaning behind transformation. In 2025, people aren't just seeking change for change's sake. They're looking for meaningful growth that aligns with their values and contributes to both personal fulfillment and collective well-being. This part of the theme acknowledges that true prosperity comes when individual growth serves a larger purpose. The 2025 connection. This theme is particularly relevant for 2025 because it bridges individual aspirations with collective support. It acknowledges that transformation is both personal and shared. It emphasizes that purpose and meaning are essential to lasting change. It creates space for both structured growth and organic development. It supports the current trend toward meaningful, sustainable progress. In our conclusion, Teach to the Brain's conclusion, Transform Together, Your Story, Our Purpose, isn't just a theme. It's a framework for approaching growth, prosperity, and contentment in 2025. It recognizes that true happiness comes from meaningful progress made in community with others, while honoring each person's unique journey. The learning series begins with 3 foundational free lessons. Lesson 1 addresses and begins answering the big question, what is learning? We move on to the second foundational free lesson addressing both the primary and secondary needs of the brain, giving specific strategies to understand and experience change together in a meaningful, purposeful way. And finally, we continue teaching in Lesson 3 about the 3 faculties of the mind, emotion, cognition, and reflection, and the 12 essential elements of the brain responsive approach, which play a significant role in human motivation and engagement. I want to remind you of the facts discussed in a prior training, understanding that your brain is the most functional and best organized 3 pounds of matter in the known universe. It also is the most complex and dynamic 3 pounds of matter that individuals in the fields of neuroscience, psychology, and physiology study. It's here that we begin to understand more effective learning and mentoring strategies for teaching, parenting, coaching, and leading. Now let's start with the most basic question as we consider the human brain. What is learning? In 1997, Elman said, learning is about making connections within the brain and between the brain and the outside world. Your brain, my brain, and every brain you come into contact with is operating a complex exchange of electrochemical causes and effects. It is the most advanced piece of technology available today, and each human has one. To learn and think about the brain's needs and functions, it seems like appropriate, if not required, training for anyone who works with and has a brain. Learners, parents, teachers, coaches, and leaders as examples. And your brain alone defines learning. Remember, defined. Learning is connections. There are 4 basic ways to understand how the brain learns. The brain simultaneously learns through neurological systemic connections, cognitive connections, social connections, and experiential connections. Neurological connections are the first and most basic way the learning happens. The brain is receiving stimuli and establishing connections at the cellular level, operating the core of the brain's functions. Your brain was designed to grow connections. You were born with about 100 billion brain cells. Of these 100 billion brain cells, about 10 to 50 billion of them are nerve cells called neurons. Even though a neuron is the basic unit of the brain, it's as complex as a small computer. Neurons are essentially designed to receive and transmit electrochemical information necessary to the maintenance of life itself. This single neuron is like a mini information processing system. It sends and transmits thousands of messages in the form of nerve impulses. One single neuron in your brain can transmit up to 50,000 messages per minute. And you have 10 to 50 billion neurons of your own transmitting up to 50,000 messages per minute each as you watch, listen, and learn this. They're connecting with each other and building new pathways to interpret the new learning. And every brain you come into contact with is doing the same thing based on their own needs, experiences, and perceptions of the world. The cellular role in learning occurs from birth until death. As long as stimuli is entering the sensory register, the brain is making connections. What you see, smell, hear, taste, and touch in the environment is picked up and screened through this complex sensory register, making cellular connections constantly. Next comes the question: how does the brain connect with and learn from the world outside of its own neural network? Well, this is through cognitive connections. We observe, experience, and associate new information with what we already connect internally. As humans, we show a need for connection to the external world. Our interactions with each other, our understanding of, and the relationship to the natural and physical realities within which we live is a major aspect of our learning and our development as a species. With continued learning, we continue to grow connections. The individual then connects to the social world, the physical environment, other individuals, cultural norms, and minute-to-minute sensory input. Social connection is the third way the brain learns. And finally, we learn from experiential connection, the consequences of our choices. We benefit from certain choices and we suffer from others, but we learn from all of them. Every experience we have connects and contributes to our personal development and our overall worldview. Essentially, experience is the best teacher of them all, as we connect all new data to relevant historical knowledge and cumulative wisdom. This is not to say that any given learning experience must somehow fit into one category. It's quite the contrary. Most of our learning is a composite of all 4 components. Our lives could then be characterized as the cumulative stockpile of the learning experiences. uniqueness. And this brings us to the amazing fact that your brain was born unique. Then your brain grew even more unique with its learning experiences and the way it connected to the world, as it still is connecting to the world. In Brain Academy's Teach to the Brain and the Heart Will Follow personal professional learning series, we continue teaching and sharing brain responsive research that helps you understand the following. Your experiences continue to rewire your brain. Your moods and states alter chemical biases in your brain and body. Your learning styles filter your perceptions, and your multiple intelligences alter your input and your output. Your brain has, and the brains of those you serve, have unlimited potential and can grow connections exponentially throughout life. This is important to the learning process. So we will respect your differences, help guide decisions, provide choice, and create a variety of experiences. At this point, it's important to understand that your brain is an astounding array of electrochemical activity. So your brain's awesome complexity is its own major barrier to understanding itself. The brain, remember, the brain has always defined parenting and the education profession. In other words, parenting and teaching was designed to make you smarter and behave better. However, neither parents nor teachers have really understood the brain itself or paid much attention to it. And as a result, there is some unfortunate news. Ineffective educational models have been implemented and used for decades. One model in particular and very pervasive is called the deficit remediation educational model. Defined, deficit remediation, the act or process of correcting a fault or deficiency, remediation of a learning disability. Now think about this. How many times has your brain heard what you did wrong or what you didn't do, and then those guiding you continued with an explanation of what to do next? It happens all the time in homes, schools, jobs, and competitive sports. This process of hearing what you did wrong and the steps to fix it affected the way you thought, felt, and behaved. It may have even affected your goals. It may have created a lack of hope feeling. It's gone on for decades. The deficit remediation model has dominated the learning arena both at school and at home. Your teachers, parents, coaches, and leaders more than likely engage with such strategies out of pure imitation and role modeling. Strategies that point out what's wrong and what to do to fix it. Now, some are extreme and some are subtle. However, they are definitely strategies to try to motivate. Now, the danger lies in the fact that such a process focuses on and looks for deficits. What's wrong that needs to be fixed? Learners perceive threat, hear negative feedback, experience emotions that create more negative thoughts and behaviors. This causes the learners to lose hope. They isolate, they stop communicating, and oftentimes refuse to accept the feedback. So if our brain is building pathways, getting wired and set, that always look at what's wrong that needs to be fixed, it's not building pathways, getting wired and set to look at what's right that needs to be continued. Another reason it's important to understand why an approach like deficit remediation can be harmful is the effect it has on brain chemistry. It doesn't feel good to have your weaknesses pointed out. It affects your emotions, and this chemical electrical activity begins in the limbic system of the brain, specifically the amygdala, It's also known to team up and communicate with other parts of your body, such as your stomach and heart, and help or hinder the learning process. This process creates emotions. Whether the emotions are positive or negative, emotions organize our experiences. They influence prediction, and they drive behaviors. The Brain Academy's Teach to the Brain and the Heart Will Follow personal and professional learning series expands upon all of these areas. The most important fact to remember here is that it's happening to both the parent and the child, to both the teacher and the learner, to both the coach and the athlete, to both the leader and the colleague, and to both the learner and their own sensory system. Neuroscience has discovered that our brain is more than an organ of rational thought. It's an organ that manufactures hundreds of chemicals that have a potent effect on our mood and attention. In her book, Molecules of Emotion, The Science Behind Mind-Body Medicine, renowned neuroscientist and pharmacologist Dr. Candace Pert has scientifically documented that intentional body positions create specific chemistry in the body. For example, smiling, literally using our facial muscles to put on a happy face, triggers specific brain neurotransmitters to shift the balance of the brain's feel-good chemicals to overcome unhappiness. This happiness in the brain and body, even when you fake a smile, when you put a pencil between your teeth and make the long E sound, E, you actually trigger neurotransmitters that read you and think you're smiling, and then they follow up with chemistry you have in your mind and body while you do the smile. Dr. Pert says when you're happy, you are alive and buzzing with happiness juices, the very real chemicals in your body and brain that are the foundation of your positive experiences. And that is why we choose the theme, Transform Together, Your Story, Our Purpose. Transformation takes learning, and the Teach to the Brain and the Heart Will Follow personal and professional learning series is focused on the most effective strategies that increase engagement and motivation. Now, according to dictionary.com, the definition of a learner is a person who is learning, sometimes called a student, sometimes called a pupil, an apprentice, a trainee. According to Britannia's dictionary definition of a learner, it's first a person who learns, and then second, a person so is trying to gain knowledge or skill in something by studying, practicing, or being taught. Brain research shows us that there are specific characteristics of strong, successful learners. These characteristics can be looked at as strengths or weaknesses. Focus on strengths you have and how you demonstrate those strengths to those you serve, whether it's teaching, coaching, parenting, or leading, is a brain responsive strategy. Maybe it's just you learning. That's okay, that's perfect. Focusing on the strengths of your learning will improve all the characteristics that go along with learning. The link here will give you access to the learner characteristics and champion attributes self-assessment. It's free. Be thoughtful and honest in your assessment of your own characteristic and attributes, and then continue to try to work on stronger scores. Self-assessment is critical in growth and achievement. And if you enjoyed the training here, check out Teach to the Brain and the Heart Will Follow personal and professional learning series. It releases on March 1st, 2025. It's available through Brain Academy's Training Hub at www.brainacademy.com/hub. And again, thank you for engaging in the brain responsive movement. We are charged up and excited to be collaborating with you. In addition, click like or share on your favorite social media app, igniting the brain responsive movement. We love hearing from you, so please leave a comment at our website or on our social media threads. And I'm Mary Applegate, host of the Brain Academy, Teach to the Brain's membership site for those seeking personal and professional development with the brain in mind. It's also brought to you by teachtothebrain.com. And until we meet again, always remember, teach to the brain and the heart will follow.